And so the lady who made the show, the showrunner, Lauren Schmidt Hisrich, announced she was going to pay attention to the women. And immediately I was put off by the fact that there's a queen in this who fights like a man. And there's a couple of scenes where women fight with swords. And I just hate these scenes because no woman can fight with a sword. 0 women can fight with a sword. And what I mean by that is in a situation where you are fighting men who are used to fighting with swords, you are going to get killed if you were a woman fighting with a sword 100% of the time, right? Now, you can, a woman with a sword could kill somebody. A woman with a sword could kill somebody who doesn't know how to fight with a sword. But in a war situation where you are swinging this 5 to 10 pound sword again and again and again against much, much, much stronger men, they are going to kill you. So when you write a woman who fights with a sword, and this queen she's a man. They should have made the character a man. She's a man. She's gross, and she swaggers around, and she rips into the meat and tears it with her teeth, and curses people out. She's a man. So there was this feminist statement. And I just thought, please give me a break. And I don't know if that's in the books, but I just thought, give me a break. This is not the way any woman behaves.
So, the guy spouting nonsense at the beginning of this video is Daily Wire podcast host Andrew Klaven. You'd think he'd know a bit more about history, considering he's also the creator of the fictional fantasy podcast Another Kingdom, which, according to its bio, features sword fighting. But anyway, he's talking about the new Netflix show The Witcher, and specifically Queen Calanthe. Pretty much everything he said in that clip was wrong, but let's take a quick look at some of the easier ones first.
But in a war situation where you are swinging this 5 to 10 pound sword again and again and again.
So swords didn't weigh anywhere near 10 pounds. Long swords, for example, weighed about 2 to 3 pounds. Quote, as sword expert Ewart Oakeshott once stated, medieval swords are neither unwieldably heavy nor all alike. The average weight of any one of normal size is between 2.5 pounds and 3.5 pounds. Even the big hand and a half swords rarely weighed more than 4.5 pounds, end quote. Here's a two-handed sword from the Wallace collection in London, which shows that even these large specimens weighed in at around 6 pounds. If you scroll down a bit to the description, you'll also see that they were rarely used. This longsword from Germany weighs in at 3.5 pounds, and many of the other swords listed weighed in at around 2 pounds. Some of that stuff is pretty cool to look at. I'll leave a link in the description. Next.
And immediately I was put off by the fact that there's a queen in this who fights like a man.
I just think it's funny that he could accept sorcery and curses, monsters, and a main character that was subjected to mutagens as a child, but can't seem to get over a female warrior. What a fucking clown.
And I just hate these scenes because no woman can fight with a sword. 0 women can fight with a sword. And what I mean by that is in a situation where you are fighting men who are used to fighting with swords, you are going to get killed if you were a woman fighting with a sword 100% of the time.
All right, let's start off with some examples of women who absolutely knew how to use a sword and killed their fair share of men who also knew how to use swords. Viking shield maidens are an obvious choice, although it's fair to point out that historians often argue about whether they existed or were merely legends. Archaeological finds strongly suggest that there really were warrior women who fought alongside, and in some cases even led, men. Some of these discoveries include jewelry that depicts female warriors, and a ceremonial grave, in other words, a grave where the dead were buried surrounded by their belongings, that was found in Birka, Sweden. The grave included 2 shields, a sword, 2 spears, axe, and a fighting knife. And yes, as you might have guessed, a female corpse. But shield maidens aren't the only examples we can point to. I'm probably going to butcher this name, but I'm going to give it a try anyways. Zhu Ti Chin carried 2 swords, rode a war elephant, and led Vietnamese resistance fighters against the Chinese. She is still idolized today. I thought this was a pretty neat quote, so I thought I'd share it with you. When her brother advised her to get married, rather than lead resistance fighters, she said, quote, I want to ride the storm, tread the dangerous waves, kill fierce sharks in the open sea, drive out the no aggressors, reclaim our country, break the yoke of slavery. I will not bow my head and be a concubine of man, end quote. The samurai warrior Tomo Gozen was described as, quote, a fearless rider whom neither the fiercest horse nor the roughest ground could dismay. And so dexterously did she handle sword and bow that she was a match for 1,000 warriors, fit to be either god or devil, end quote. And Japan had many such warriors. The naginata is a polearm weapon that was specifically designed for women, the only real difference being that it was a bit shorter since women were on average shorter than their male counterparts. But make no mistake, female warriors were definitely a thing in Japan. Kinane was the half-sister of Alexander the Great, and her mother was, quote, a true Illyrian princess, a product of her culture's practice of raising girls as warriors, and instilled these values in her daughter. She brought Kinane up in the Illyrian tradition, teaching her martial arts and to hunt, track, ride, and fight better than most men. Before she was 20, Kinane was well known for these skills, and became famous for her courage and brilliance in battle, end quote. And there are many more historical examples, but I also wanted to point out some modern ones. According to the International Fencing Federation, these are the 3 top female fencers in the world, and fencing isn't something that women aren't good at. You'll notice that the top female has more points, by a wide margin actually, than the top-ranking male. The 3rd most decorated Olympic fencer of all time is also a woman. HEMA, the historical European martial arts community, has a thriving female community, and anyone watching their sword fights will quickly notice that women definitely can swing a sword effectively. Basically, this guy's full of shit. I know that comes as quite a surprise considering it's coming from the Daily Mail, but just get over it. It's okay to have a strong female character, and to be completely honest with you, Queen Calanthe was probably my favorite character. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave me lots of juicy comments below. I love reading them. Sorry if I butchered any of the names. I tried to get them right, but what can you do, right? Take care and cheers.
You take me home, invite me in. The lights go down.